Uh, all right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Journey to Greatness, day 191 of 365. Cheers. Morning, Liz. All right, let's get to the magic. All righty then. Alrighty, my friends, welcome back. Good morning, Auntie. How's it going? Thank you. We're gonna get back into our book, Relentless. And I will see you guys on the other side. That's right. Dude. Whoa. Mm-hmm. Mm. Hmm. Dang. Mm. That's crazy. Holy smokes, this man's coming with the fire. Welcome back. Man, these last 2 days, unfortunately, I didn't have, I had some technical difficulties yesterday, but man, these last 2 days, he's been hitting it on the head. Whoa. All right, so we're going to get into our journaling routine next. In our journaling routine, we have in our journaling routine, I usually like to start off by writing about what I'm most grateful for. In the morning, that's exceptional health and waking up. We only have one life to live, man, and so I really, really feel that it's our duty to, be grateful for that. And then I go back to yesterday's activities and identify things that I'm grateful for. Everything, whether good or bad, I'm grateful for it. And I pick the things that I learned from it and I put it in my journal. Anything I wish to manifest or create for myself in the future, then I put that in my journal. So it's a good way to get the thoughts out of your head and get them organized on paper. And then in the end, let's say in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, you'll have an autobiography. Cheers. I'll see you guys on the other side. Whoa. All right. So, man, I'm telling you guys, it's been a very, 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 very good couple of days. Every day is the best day of my life, so I can't complain. Yesterday, I went to a viewing of a funeral of a gentleman who passed away. He was hit by a car, run over by a car twice. And 22 years old, clean cut, really, really nice spirited guy. And when I was looking at his body, it was just so lifeless. There's no life. His hairline was perfect. His beard was perfect. His eyebrows were groomed. His physical appearance was perfect. And yet there was no spirit. And I think what down yesterday was even more so, because I live by like this anyways, but I think the thing that really what it showed me is just like we really only have one life to live. Not only do we only have one life to live, but like why in the heck would we spend our life stressing about this or stressing about that and not taking risk and not pushing ourselves to the max and not being uncomfortable, not sacrificing time with family and friends and significant others in order to be successful, and not spending time with friends on the flip side of that, and family and self, or not self, but because you will always do self, but family and friends and significant others. Why don't we spend time? And at the end of the day, it's like the person that you're seeing right here, David McDonald, I'm just a shell. Like my body is just here. It's present, right? But it's not the body that you're listening to. It's the spirit. It's the spirit that's talking to you, that's within the body. Without the spirit, this is just a shell. And there's no secret as to whether or not we're living a temporary experience. Our bodies are just vehicles to get us to the next stage in life. And that is the reason why, that is one of the variables why we should try to live more of a spiritual life, emotionally balanced life, because our physical is a temporary experience and it's limited by our senses. Our senses limit our ability to create and imagine a reality for ourselves unimaginable. So life purpose, life goals is to live spiritually, because when you live spiritually, you can transcend above the physical self. And when you transcend above the physical self, the physical urges such as attachment to money, attachment to material things, attachment to physical pleasure, attachment to reactive behavior, attachment to, oh, this is how it's always been. All of that stuff will always be alive in you because you're operating on a plane that is limited and it cannot ascend any higher. So looking at that gentleman, and having met him and known him and knowing like the type of, spirit he had and energy he had, it was kind of unreal. 22 years old, went off to, start a career so he can help his mom and his family out, the best and most positive intention. And yet, his spirit has left his body. He's not there anymore. And when I saw that, I was like, you know, and I know this, but when I saw it, I was gently reminded. I was like, you know, we really only have one time to do this. So if we're going to do it, we got to go hard, super hard. Because why not? What do we have to lose? Now, for some people, they don't want to work. That's fine. You don't have to work. But then you can't complain about not having this or not having that, right? But for others of us, we like to work, or we want to work, and we want everything that, you know, we're able to create for ourselves. And there's certain plateaus and certain tiers. But, you know, not comparably, it's all up to, you know, the individual person. So live your life, man, because all this little fear, oh, I don't know, throw all that out the window, because today it could be our last day. And I know if that was to ever pass for me, I would honestly say I did what I wanted to do. I took the risks that I wanted to take, and I was relentless in achieving my goals. And I wouldn't feel any regret about anything that I've done, because all of this has been predestined. All of this has been premeditated. And, you know, it can be the same for you too. You just have to take that ownership and responsibility. So jumping back into the book, man, this is wild. This whole life is wild. It's what an amazing experience. Like, so kind of bleeding into, you know, to yesterday's reading. And then I'm going to tie this into really taking our game to the next level. Making it to the top is not the same as making it at the top. True for any business. Getting the job doesn't mean you're keeping the job. Winning the client doesn't mean he's staying forever. Most people seem to understand that. They get a big opportunity and usually realize they now have to go out and earn that salary, working even harder to prove they deserve it. What have you been handed? What are you willing to earn? At some point, you got a gift. Maybe you were blessed with the talent, or you inherited the family business, or someone took a chance on you to let you in the door. Then what? Does the door swing two ways? Did you shut it on the competition or on yourself? So let me just continue reading, because this is powerful stuff. There's nothing wrong with receiving a gift. That's where the challenge begins. Like a lot of people with a crazy dream, I saw an opportunity, worked hard to develop it, and never stopped working to see how far I could take it. Whenever other people in my business wanted to rip me, they say, sure, the guy started with Michael Jordan. It's not hard for him to train the best. If you think it's not hard to take the test, to take the best and find ways to make him better, you've never had to face that challenge. It's easy to improve on mediocrity, not so easy to improve on excellence. Cleaner law. When you reduce your competition to whining that you got lucky, you know you're doing something right. Fire. What he's saying is, when Tim Grover started training with Michael Jordan, everybody around him said, oh, Tim, that's easy. You're training with the best in the industry. You're training with the best sports player. He's the best. What Tim is saying in response to that is, you have somebody who is performing at maximum caliber. Michael Jordan, hands down, best time basketball player in all time. Everybody knows who Michael Jordan is. He's not only left a legacy, but he has the numbers and the stats to show he is the best, right? So undoubtedly the best. And he knew he was the best. You have to elevate him from here, from being great, being a closer. Well, he already was a cleaner, I guess, but to pushing him even higher. Like, that is a lot more challenging. And that's what Tim is saying. He'll take mediocrity any day of the week, because I can show you, okay, You got to be better in your fundamentals. When you're better in your fundamentals, then you can start doing between the leg dunks, or you can do behind the back slams. That's easy. That's an easier transition. So in the previous statement, it's easy to make it to the top, but is it easy to stay at the top? I can tell you this right now. Any system in any business, and this is what I've experienced, and this is what I foresee. So I could be just take it for what it is, but this is what I see. You're striving to be top 1%. You know inside you are 1% caliber. You know you are 1%, and it's already a reality for you. So you live your life accordingly. When you're climbing that ladder, you know, to earn that top spot in your industry or share that top spot with somebody else, you are, and you achieve that. So let's say, imagine you see yourself, you're there. You're already there. Now you have to maintain that level of intensity because you know what you did to get there. You know how much time you put into work. You know what activities you did if you're tracking correctly. You know how much money you spent. You know all of these things because it's all like it should be all in systems. So when you get to the top, it's all about maintaining that. And that's what most people have trouble with, let alone just the journey and the consistency required to get to the top. Most people fall off there. And then when you get to the top, it's about maintaining that level of intensity. And that's another area where I think 9 times out of 10 will be triumphant. There are no shortcuts, and there is no luck. So when I read that yesterday about, you know, the guy saying, oh, you know, he trained the best, and then Tim says, you know, when you reduce your competition to whining that you got lucky, when you reduce the competition to saying, oh, it's a hot market, you know, anybody can sell a house in this market, anybody can be a successful real estate agent, then you know you're doing something right. And I'll leave it at that. There are no shortcuts and there is no luck. People always say good luck in a pressure situation. I don't need luck. No, it's not about luck. I don't believe in luck. There are facts and opportunities and realities, and how you respond to them determines whether you succeed or fail. That is so true. There is no luck. We're not wishing to win. It's like it's a calculated race. If you put in X, you will return X, or you will get a return of X or ROI of X. There is no, you know, oh, I wonder if, or no, none of that exists. And I think that's a part of taking full responsibility of action itself. When the game is on the line, you don't want to hear good luck. Nope. It suggests you're not prepared. When you're headed to the job interview, you don't need luck. You need to know you're prepared and in control, and you're not relying on some random event of mystical intervention. Luck becomes a convenient excuse when things don't go your way, and a rationale for staying comfortable while you wait for luck to determine your fate. Be relentless if you're willing to gamble everything on the unknown. You can't be relentless if you're willing to gamble everything on the unknown. It doesn't matter what you got handed. It's what you do after you receive it affords you the privilege of saying, I did this on my own. And that, I think, is the biggest thing. To be able to own your success and say, look, man, I put in the work. I know I woke up every day for this period of time, and I was able to produce and achieve this many goals. And I went this many hours. So now you look back and you say, okay, how do I go from being great after you look at the goals you've achieved, and how do I step it up even more? There is no competition, and there is no excuse to look at somebody and say, oh, well, they came into the industry and their grandma or their granddad or their auntie or their uncle gave them business, gave them opportunities, and that's how they were able to build their empire. They have a brother who's a builder, you know, up on the east side, and you know, he has land, and you know, just because they're related, he's allowing him to represent. You know, the uncle is allowing the nephew or the son or whoever represent all of the sales sides of the transactions. at $1 million a hit, $1 million a house. None of that, all that, throw it away, throw it away. Because at the end of the day, like I said, when you compete, there's no cap to anything that you're doing. So yes, people may get an opportunity. Yes, people may not have worked as hard as you have in order to get that opportunity. But to come from that place and live from that place, I think is a very low energy movement. And it doesn't serve my highest purpose at all. And so at the end of the day, it's about consistency. Who is really going to be in this industry for 20 years and be crushing it, absolutely crushing it, and changing thousands and thousands of people's and families' lives, and really, being a benefit to the entire real estate industry? Who's really going to be there? And where is that consistency going to come from? And when is it going to show up? And when is it going to be, statewide known? Like, okay, so my point is never compare. Yes, some people are given fortune, but don't focus on that. Focus on what you're doing to get to where you need to be, and then manifest the best reality for yourself. Use that as motivation, or use that as a stepping stone to say, okay, I wish to give that to my kids. I wish to give that to my nephew, so that they can work and they can grow, but then they can have a better opportunity or a better entry point than I did when I got into the industry, or when I started my life, or when I started doing this or doing that. You know what I mean? Like, we're thinking, that far ahead in terms of decades, right? We want to start planning for decades forward. And like what we can give back to our family, and what we can give back to our children, and what we can give back to the community and their families and their children. And I think plenty more things to focus on than, oh, well, that person got lucky. Oh, that person was blessed. Oh, that person inherited money. Let's not focus on that. You cannot understand what it means to be relentless until you have struggled. You cannot understand what it means to be relentless until you have struggled to possess something that's out of your reach. Over and over, as soon as you touch it, it moves further away. But something inside you, that killer instinct, makes you keep going, reaching, until you finally grab it and fight with all your might to keep holding on. Anyone can take what's sitting right in front of him. Whew. Only when you're truly relentless can you understand the determination to keep pursuing a target that never stops moving. And that is one of the foundations of literally driving yourself into the ground. There's a balance, and we've talked about this multiple times throughout these last couple of weeks. In this book, we've talked about balance, just finding balance, working and being relentless, and then obviously still finding time for self, most importantly, and then other people around you. And that is even to cap to, other people around you. That there's a cap on that, right? No question. Those who are gifted get to the top faster than anyone else. So what? Is that your excuse for not reaching as high? The challenge is staying there, and most people don't have the balls to put in the work. If you want to be elite, you have to earn it every day. Everything you do, earn it, prove it, sacrifice. No shortcuts. You can't fight the elephants until you've wrestled the pigs, messed around in the mud, handled the scrappy, dirty issues that clutter everyday life, so you can be ready for the heavy stuff later. There's no way you can be prepared to compete and survive at anything if you start with the elephants. No matter how good your instincts are, you'll always lack the basic knowledge needed to build your arsenal of attack weapons. And when you're surrounded by those elephants, they'll know they're looking at a desperate newcomer. Okay, so this is all from yesterday's reading, and facts like this, like that part of the reading right there. This is the same. This page is the page I posted yesterday on my Facebook. The reason why I posted that is because everybody wants to get it fast. We all believe we're Michael Jordans walking around, and that's very much okay and cool. And we are, to whatever capacity we believe that, right? However, you can show up as Michael Jordan, but you also got to work as hard as Michael Jordan did. So it doesn't matter what you do in terms of getting into a new industry. You have to learn the fundamentals of the industry. If you don't, if I'm not working with $100,000 or $170,000 clients, like working with a $170,000 client and working with a $3 million client and working with a $600,000 client are all three different personalities. And then obviously each person has their own individual personality. So I started from the bottom. My family started from the bottom, and, we've grown, obviously, and we've built, we've built, and I've seen, what it looks like to not have food. I've seen what it looks like to have food, and I've seen, a lot of different other things. So it's not a story of, oh, I came from the bottom, no opportunities, this, that, and the other. Yeah, that may have been the case, but that's not really the platform I always stand on. And there's always, I feel like a lot of people, they always come from that, oh, I had nothing growing up, this, that, and the other, because it resonates really well with other people. And that is indeed my story, but it's not like something I think I come from a different angle, looking at it from a different angle. It's more of like life transitions. So my whole point here is that there are no shortcuts. When you come into something, you have to learn. There's an 87% dropout rate in real estate for a reason. And I think one of those reasons is because people try to go after the elephant and they get super excited, over anxious, rather than being composed, hardening themselves in fundamental and skill work, right? So that was all from yesterday's reading. All of those things that we just talked about can be that formula or that space, that cloud of information can be put over any industry that you choose to get involved in. So in order to learn the system, you got to start from the bottom, or you got to start from one point. I had a manager at Red Lobster when I used to work there. I worked there from the time I was 16 until I was 18. I moved up from being a busser to a line cook, and then to a server finally when I turned 18. And I can tell you, I knew every position. And because I knew every position and I had worked in every single role, it was easier for me to communicate. It was easier for me to get straight to the source of where I thought the problem was. If I needed to jump on the line and help with preparing food, then I could do that. That same concept is the same thing I do in real estate. I know finance. I know finance very well. And I have a lot of friends who know finance, who are in the lending industry, and they're in finance. So in order for me to be superb at what I do, I got to be good at all these other areas that involve me. I know a little bit about taxes, but I'm not a CPA. I know there's certain vehicles and there's certain things that you can do in the tax world that can help benefit you when you're purchasing a property or when you're selling a property. And then ultimately I can refer you to a CPA, right? So like there's so many moving parts. If you are super good at what you do, let's say you are, a movie producer or a video producer, for you to know how to edit, for you to know how to produce, direct, and screenwrite and write, makes you more of a dynamic player because you know how all of the systems work. You know how each level of the process works. And it makes you a better salesman or saleswoman at the end of the day because you can explain the process. And one of the primary reasons why people don't choose to move forward is because lack of information and lack of confidence in their decision to move forward. So the more information, the more knowledgeable you are, the more educated you are, And whatever it is that you're selling or you're presenting, the more credibility and the more and the higher chance of moving a client forward or moving a person forward, your chances are going to be. So if you're talking about careers, sales, business, capitalism, all that, all of those things in between. The guy who started by sorting the mail or cleaning the restaurant late at night or fixing the equipment at the gym, that's the guy who knows how to get things done. After he's eventually worked his way up through the ranks, he knows how everything works, why it works, what to do when it stops working. That's the guy who will have longevity and value and impact because he knows what it took to get to the top. You can't claim you ran a marathon if you started at the 17th mile. Facts. Most people are looking for an elevator instead of taking the stairs. They want the easy route. People quit their workout and diets because they're too hard. I laughed at myself for that. They stop advancing their careers and lives because it's too much work. For all of Michael's amazing moves and unforgettable moments, he knew none of that could happen without the fundamentals. Those basic moves he had practiced over and over and over to make it possible. He didn't work on being flashy. He worked on being consistent. Consistency is the new currency. And he worked on it relentlessly. Cleaners don't care about instant gratification. They invest in the long-term payoff. Ask yourself, honestly, what would you have to sacrifice to have what you really want? That's why I started laughing. Your social life, relationships, credit cards, free time, sleep. Now answer this question. What are you willing to sacrifice with those two lists? If those two lists don't match up, you don't want it badly enough. Every morning, our life for the last six months, we have been sacrificing. I can't speak for you guys. I've been sacrificing a lot. And I can tell you I've reached some phenomenal goals in my life. Like highest goals I've ever achieved in the last 6 months. But I've sacrificed a lot. And you know what? For the rest of this year, I'm working 5 a.m. to 6, 7 o'clock at night. Okay? Maybe let's say average is like 6. Sometimes it's later, right? 8, 9, 10. But let's say 6. From 5 a.m. until 6 p.m. That is how many hours of work? 13 hours of work. And a lot of my days are like 16 hours. Right now, I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I've achieved X, right? And it's great. Fantastic. In my mind, I'm like, how do I be relentless? How do I go from being great to being relentless, unstoppable in what I'm doing? And so now I'm going to increase my hours to 5 a.m. to 8, maybe 9 p.m. That's an additional 50 hours a month of work and working on it's not just work. Oh, okay. I'm working on my craft, working on me, right? That's where the level's where the level's getting ready to go to. It's like, okay, for the last 6 months, I've went at this pace. I went this hard. This is what I was able to achieve. And it is phenomenal. My results are phenomenal. Now, how do I take it to an even higher level? And yes, you have to talk to your significant other if you have one. And you have to talk to yourself as to whether or not you want to do it. Being relentless and operating in this, man, there's so much to talk about because this book is like, it just, it brought so many things up. At the end of the day, it's like, if we look at our lives like we're professional athletes, and a professional athlete goes hard for 10, 15, 20 years. Every year, workout, regimen, routine, diet, performance, all of these things they have to do year after year, hand over hand. Every year they have to be in the best shape of their life to be prepared to play in basketball, it's some 80 plus games, right? if we live our lives for the next 20 years at peak state, peak physical health, peak mental health, peak spiritual health, peak routine and consistency, constantly sharpening ourselves and being better in the industry that we are in. When it comes time in 20 years to get out of the industry and we're performing, this book is cool because it's showing us the back end work of a professional player, basketball player in this situation, basketball players. You know, it's in my mind, it's making basketball players even less idol worthy. You know, I don't idol anyone, but fans idol people, and it's because they make a lot of money. It's because they're really good at what they do. But when you peel that curtain back and you look to see who is actually working, some of it's really natural ability, and then and no hard work, and then other times it's some natural ability and a lot of hard work. But it just brings everybody back down to the ground. If you work harder than everybody in the room, you could be the best, period. And so it's like we only have to operate at this relentless pace for 20 years and not burn out, and just be like top producers every year and strive for that every year and not let up. And then in between time, figure out a way to balance, add things to life so that we don't miss out on life, where we look down, 20 years goes by, we're 40, we have all this money in our accounts, and you know, all of these, you know, houses and properties all over the nation, all over the world. But then you have pretty much, what else do you, and then we have ourselves, but then, you know, maybe we're sacrificed, so you're missing some other part of life, right? Experience, you know, being spontaneous, you know, not working so hard, relaxing. But professional athletes do this all the time. So maybe taking on that mindset and just going hard for a certain amount of time, with also finding balance and time for self and just enjoyment of peace and not doing anything, is a really interesting mindset, I think, to go into. Most people don't want the pressure and don't want the stress. They don't want to sacrifice time with friends and family. They want to party when the mood strikes, sleep late when they can, and get up and go to bed with limited worries and responsibilities and pressure. I get that. It's a much easier way to experience life. But usually those are the same people who look around at others who have more success and say, I can't believe how lucky that guy is. I could do that if, stop. You could do that if what? If you put in more time and effort, if you commit to whatever is making it work for him, if you're willing to pay the price he's paying, what's he doing that you can't? Man, Tim went off in this chapter. Don't be jealous of someone if you had the same opportunity and you let it slip away. When did hard work become a skill? Fact. That's a very good point. It doesn't take talent to work hard. Anyone can do it. Show up, work hard, and listen. It takes a willingness to be dedicated, to improve, to be better. I don't care if you're a superstar or the weakest guy on the team. Anyone can show up, work hard, and listen. Are you looking for that non-existent shortcut, or are you ready to do things the right way? Do you want it easy, or do you want it great? Oh, man. In anything you do, it takes no talent to work hard. You just have to want to do it. I could tell you so many stories about athletes blessed with incredible physical talent, size, power, pure athletic excellence, who end up playing sports only because that's what their gifts direct them to. They don't love it or even like it, but that's where they end up because they're physically extraordinary. So they have no motivation to do more because they don't crave the end result. They're happy to be there if there's a parade at the end, but if there's not, they're okay with that too. Okay. What that tells me is to even idolize somebody who is on a big screen and is super athletic and is super good at what they do is crazy, is wild. Because some people are playing and they don't even want to be there. I personally believe life goal, life purpose, follow your dreams, achieve your dreams, constantly achieve your dreams, reshape, reflect, and reestablish yourself and get better and do what you love to do. Now, I can see if you're doing something for a temporary time just to elevate yourself to a place of, the next level. So you hedge, you work really hard at this one thing, and then eventually you take what you learn from that one thing, or you take the money you've earned from that, put it into something that you love to do, and then boom, you take off. I get that. But when Tim is saying this in the book, it just makes me think like, really, what is there to idolize in anyone, period, on any scale? But money doesn't make you smart. It doesn't make you a good businessman, and it sure doesn't make you better looking. A lot of basketball players, football players, sports athletes end up going bankrupt. Don't have good investment strategies. Don't have good real estate portfolios. And the list goes on and on and on and on. In the book, Tim talks about how he talks to general managers and agents all the time. How young men, they don't want to pay $10,000 for training in the summertime, but then they drive in $150,000, Bentley truck or Bentley, and they have a 24 karat, gold, diamond studded, Cuban necklace around their necks. It's just kind of like, again, what's there to idolize? Shout out to Jay-Z. Jay-Z started athlete, man, gosh darn, I don't know the words for it. He started an athlete, pretty much agency, like an agent agency, where he's helping athletes get like better contracts and bringing the business element to what they're, to that whole life. Because a lot of agents, out there, sports agents, they're just there off the hype. They don't really, and I can't really speak from this, but just from what I've read and what I've heard, they don't really lead these young men, to these different avenues of investments. And on top of that, a lot of these young men, that's sometimes, for some of them, not all of them or a lot of them, but for some of them, that's all that they know. So, and I've had to be grounded when I spoke to somebody, and I was like, well, why wouldn't somebody just make an investment into a house? You're making, $4 million a year. Go buy an apartment complex. Let's fly out to Texas and go buy 20 units over there with a 9% cap rate, where you're making, $5,000 every month passive income just on that unit that you bought for $2 million. Like, that's $120,000 a year. You do that one time every single year, all around the world. And then you have a big savings account. Now you're making $1 million. You only need 10. You're in the industry for 20 years, right? You do that 10 times over at, 5 or 10, you're at $500,000 a year. When you get out, you got bonuses, you got Hall of Fame, you got all of this stuff around you. Wow. So Jay-Z's bringing that element, and a lot of people, they just don't want to do it. They'd rather have a Bentley truck. They'd rather have, have a house that they're renting and have a really expensive rollie on, And so the whole point is money doesn't make you. If you win the lottery, they say like everyone who's won the lottery, they lose it all. Money doesn't make you. Money doesn't make you. It's the time that you spend getting to know yourself. It's the time that you spend sharpening yourself and getting better and better at what you are, which is just being you. And then you prepare for that next level. And when you invest in yourself and you put this time into yourself, when those blessings start to come, you are in a more logical state of mind. Do I go out and buy this Ferrari, or do I go out and buy a house? Do I go out and buy this Jag, or do I go out and buy this house? Do I go out and, buy a Rolex, or do I go out and buy this house? Your everything about your perspective changes. And so that's what he says. Money doesn't make you smart. It doesn't make you a good businessman, and it doesn't make you better looking. Right? So, man, I could go on and on about this. This is just. I'll end it here now because we're like at 6:30, and we'll maybe come back to this tomorrow. But this, I'd have to say, this is probably my favorite chapter. Even though this book hasn't allowed me to like give so much like explanatory value where I can explain and talk about the concepts that are in here, because a lot of the times it's just examples. Secretly, this book is changing my life. It's really changing my life. And I think his goal, Tim Grover's goal, is to go from good to great to unstoppable. I think this is a major key. So if you haven't read this book, you guys, I really, really suggest you getting through it. It's a little dry sometimes, but if you can understand the underlying message of where he's going and where he's coming from, very powerful stuff. Everybody who jumped on the messenger board, good morning. Thank you for joining me. Day 191 of 365 with David McDonald, the GOAT. Good morning. Have the best day of your life. I will see you tomorrow at 5 a.m. And, geez, I'm blown away right now. I'm just like speechless. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.